Welcome back to Mo's Awesome Garage. So this is our first episode in quite a while that is not from the water on our good friend Artemis. So I want to talk about the latest addition to Mo's Garage. This is a 2020 KTM Adventure 390 made in India. So this is going to be replacing my F700 GS that I have for sale right now, which it's a great bike, love it. A little too heavy for me personally for taking it off-road. This bike weighs a fair amount less, a little bit more spry. So yeah, anyway, let's go check it out. Awesome. So a quick tour of the bike. So when I think sometimes about buying stuff used, is that the last guy who owned it will have done some of the upgrades. So like this one, for example, they've gone ahead and done, put a pretty decent cover on the headlight. They have actually have a taller windshield. There's a Garmin GPS installed, which is pretty cool. At this point in time, the bike has bar risers on it, which is also nice. They've installed one of those locking throttles. And on top of everything else, they also have gone ahead and put the straight foot pegs. There has been a fair amount of complaints of people owning this bike that the original ones are slanted, which I think is a throwback from the KTM Duke. So yeah, so that's kind of nice. That's been done. It's got a pretty beefy skid plate. Also, that's our aftermarket. The original one was just kind of more of a plastic. And yeah, it also has aftermarket progressive springs on it. So, which I must admit does get it a little on the high side. So we'll see how that works. And then on top of all the other upgrades, they have also gone and put a set of, well, not a set, but put the Akrapovic exhaust on it, and they've also deleted the catalytic converter, so we'll see how that works. And then last but not least, they have some kind of a little ECU box inside this thing. I'm not sure exactly what it does and what the deal is, but we'll see. And yeah, so overall, I took it for a bit of a spin. It's a nice bike. It's a light bike. It is a tall bike. So next thing on the agenda then is to go ahead and do a quick oil change. As I said before, most likely flush the brake lines. And just do kind of a thorough once over before we get too carried away riding it. So yeah, awesome. Now, one kind of cool thing about this bike is that one on Amazon and KTM actually sells a full-blown oil changing kit that includes the oil, the filter, gaskets, etc. So, geez, why not? It definitely makes life a lot easier. So yeah, pretty freaking awesome. So I think as I stated earlier, this bike has the more gung-ho KTM skid plate. So really it's held in place by a few screws. You can see there's one over here. And then actually there's a couple options here. There's some screws that hold down to this plate down here. Or I could take off, there's another screw in the back here for the skid plate. You can see right there. But it may be a little tough to access from behind. So I need to decide if I'm just going to basically just take the screws from underneath there or take that one out. So yeah, we'll check that out here in a sec. And then the other side is pretty much the same. It's hard to tell, but the other side also has a screw. You can kind of see it over here. That has to come out. And then there's a screw basically right here that has to come out. And as I was saying before, the other screw is looks like it might be a little tough to get to back in there. So I've got the bolts off of the other side of the bike, so I need just to get it off of this side. I'm not going to go ahead and undo these in here like I was thinking about originally. I think I'm just going to go ahead and take it out from here. I already got the other side, actually, so I think that we'll do that. So yeah, we'll make short work of it here, and then we'll pull the pan off. Awesome. And why, yes, I did miss a bolt, and he is over here somewhere. Yep, he's down up over there. So we'll pop him out, and then in theory, the skid plate should drop at that point in time. About to find out. Awesome. So the theory is all the bolts are out. Let's see what the practice looks like. Okay, there it goes. Looks like there's a definite way this thing has to slide in and out, especially up here up front. So we'll check it out. And voila. Skid plate is off. And so we can now start looking at the oil change. Awesome. Okay, so we actually started the bike up for a few minutes, let it warm up a little bit. That'll make the oil change a little bit better. So now the next trick is to get the oil plug off. There's actually a couple of plugs down here and some screens and some other stuff. So we'll get this one off first and see how it goes. Trying not to burn myself. And actually, if I was really smart, I would get a bigger wrench. Hang tight. Yep. Bigger wrench. And I always like a bike that when you change oil, it goes on the exhaust. That is absolutely awesome. Now that some of the oil is out of there, we're going to go ahead and you can see there's the screen in here that comes out. So we'll pull that guy out and try to be really careful not to lose it. There it goes. Okay, so we will set this guy aside and clean it up because I don't believe it gets replaced. Okay, awesome. So there's actually a bolt at the other end of this that also has to come off. That looks like it has a little screen on it. So we'll go ahead and see if we can get to it. The challenge right now is that it's kind of behind this exhaust over here. And the question is, can I actually get to it or not? Okay, let's see what comes out over here. We may have to actually prop the bike up. So there's that. So for our next trick, there's actually a screen in here that needs to come out. Not readily apparent how it comes out. Not necessarily wanting to easily pop out of here. There it goes. Okay, so yeah, check that out. There's another little thing. Yeah, freaking awesome. Jeesh. So last but not least, there's the actual filter that this thing has. So it looks like we have two screens and a filter. So this looks like it should be fairly easy to get to. And then we will okay, try number 15. We're going to use one of these self-tapping machine screws to see if we can basically run it through the oil filter. Okay. Now the theory is you should be able to grab a pair of pliers and put the whole thing out. So let me go grab a pair of pliers and we'll pull the whole thing out. If anybody watching this has a better idea, please let me know. But yeah, that takes a little bit of effort to pop out. We're going to go ahead and tilt the bike back and just have it stand up for a quick second and push any oil that's out in there out. So let's find out what's inside the magic orange KTM box. In theory, it should have filter and some O-rings. So now let's see what the practice has. It is nice though, because it does have all the little bits and pieces, and you also don't have to guess what kind of oil to buy. Okie doke. So we have 2 liters of this 40. Okay, nice. Well, I suspect actually this is definitely only partially. So it's a liter and a bit. And we have a box. And hopefully in the box we have not just a filter, but also some O-rings. The saying goes, we are about to find out. And it's a box within a box, which I always like. And looks like no O-rings, which is very surprising. So, okie doke, which means I guess we got to treat those extra nice. I don't see anything else in the box. There's definitely nothing in here. There's an arrow here, just in case there was something. Oh, that's just an oil filter. Well, that is a little disappointing. You would think on a complete kit like that, they would include new O-rings, but they don't. So yeah, well, luckily these are not external, so they're all internal. So we'll make sure that when we clean them, we're very careful. Yeah, let's get it all cleaned up. We'll get it put back together in a couple of minutes. Awesome. I am a fanatic when it comes to knowing the torque for bolts and etc. I've had a reputation of stripping stuff in the past. So I do have a very super cool electronic torque wrench that works very well. And pretty nice actual owner's manual that actually gives you the service instructions for the KTM. Actually does give the torque specs for the drain plugs, etc. So we will make sure to drain that. Looks like the big plug is 15 Newton meters and the little plug is 12. So yeah, let's get going and put them on. Awesome. So step 1, we'll get our torque wrench to set to 15 Newton meters. And the nice thing about these electronic torque wrenches is you actually know when you're getting close. And then we'll go ahead and get a little oil. There we go. Put it around here. We have some fresh oil around that O-ring. And then, even though I'm sure this is going to get bathed in oil, we'll go ahead and just put some oil back on here. So along this O-ring also. So theoretically, this goes back where it came from, which is over here, and it goes. And I believe it took a little bit of effort to pull out, so I'm assuming it's going to take a little bit of effort to pull in. I'm going to hold on to the kickstand. There it goes. It would really suck to push the bike over at this point in time. That would not be a good way to kind of go about this little endeavor. Screw our friend on real quick. Okay. And I'm thinking at this point in time, I may actually just wait to torque everything at once. That way I don't have oil over everything. So we'll do the torque wrench last. So then we do have this little guy right here. Same deal, we'll go ahead and get him nice and lubricated. And I also have the little O-ring over here. And I believe we need to go to the other side of the motorcycle, but maybe. Yep, I think the other side. I do enjoy working with my head upside down and my glasses off my nose. It makes it up more entertaining. There it is. So this one's 12. Okay, so basically we'll get it on here. That's it. Last but not least, we'll put the oil filter in. And then I think once this is in, I'm going to clean up a little bit and get everything torqued in, finalized. I'm sure that pops in. Yep, there it popped. And we have this right here. We're waiting for it to drop into the dirty oil. I'm not going to let that happen. Okay, fab. Time to go get the torque wrench and finish it up. We've got the torque wrench set at 10 Newton meters. So we'll just go ahead and just kind of tighten it slowly. And when it goes red, you're there. Pretty convenient. Voila. So last one, the oil plug, before we kind of clean up this mess. 15 Newton meters is the magic number. So we'll get it tightened up. And that's it. For 15. Okay, so next step is to kind of clean up the bash plate, put it back on, put some oil in the bike, and then fire it up to make sure there's no leaks. So yeah, awesome. The little KTM kit, at least, is that it actually gives you the exact amount of oil. There's a liter in one of these. This is 0.7. So all we got to do is pour it in the crankcase. And the theory is that that'll be the perfect amount of oil for the bike. And also it's the right type, viscosity, all the little additives are correct for the engine, blah, 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 blah. So yeah, so this should be good. This is actually a semi-synthetic, so that's good. Number 2. So according to our screen, we are ready to race. So let's see if this thing fires up, which it should. And then we will go ahead and check for leaks. Okay, we'll pull it up and go check it real quick. And the bash plate is on. I went ahead and cleaned it up. Didn't really see the need to actually show the video how to put it on. Pretty easy, pretty much just as you took it off. So yeah, not a whole lot of work involved. Quite frankly, I'm impressed with the owner's manual, that they give you all the information you need, all the torque specs. So yeah, fairly easy oil change, and so yeah. So last step before we finish our oil service is we got to reset the engine reminder. So we'll go ahead and turn it on. And then we need to go ahead and, okay, so here we go. Hit set, down, settings, up and down at the same time. Reset to 3,000 miles, which, interesting enough, on this particular bike, the service interval is actually 4,600 miles, but we'll see. Yep, okay, there we have it. And that concludes our oil change. Awesome. This video, hit subscribe and give us a big like down below. Thanks for watching.